And on songs like My Block and World War Three, I noticed you have like it's a drum pattern where it's like a stutter step, kind of like on
Hmm.
in certain spots throughout the track. So like,
Hmm.
did you discover that like exploring the features on your drum machine, or do you tap it out live? Like, what's the story on that?
Yeah, I used to. I say so. We're going back now 20 years ago, and we're
Mm,
going back at a time when producers, hip hop producers, typically made the drums feel like live drums. You know, it was boom bap, but it felt
right.
comfortable. For me, I thought that the tools, the drum machine tools, we should use them because they have something that a drummer couldn't do. You know, like a drummer
Yeah.
can't necessarily, I mean, a good one can, but the kind of mechanized thing that you get when you hit note repeat and hold the sound down is not something that a real drummer would think to do and could do with that kind of precision of a machine. So it's really, it was on purpose, me messing with the machines, trying to make something feel like a hybrid between the machine and like a person. So those, I had a record called Guns. Guns was a song we never released. March and I worked
Hmm.
on for Internal Affairs, and in that I used a note repeat in the hip hop on the hi hat. So the
Uh-huh.
hi hats were going,
Yeah, yeah.
which is became what we now see people do that all the time with trap beats. When I
Right,
did that,
right.
when I did that in '99, it was like, what the hell? But see, what I was doing, I heard it as the gun clicking. So
Oh,
you hold
okay,
down. So
okay.
I made the hi hat click like that. But
Yeah.
you know, people thought I was crazy for doing that. But, so the
Right.
song was never released, huh?
You're too early.
Yeah, way too early. Way too early. It was.
But it's interesting that you talk about like using note repeat and everything, because like behind me I have the book Dilla Time, and in that book he kind of like talks about how um, it's almost like a misconception of people thinking that what Jay Dilla did was only just not quantizing when he
Uh-huh.
programmed his
Hmm.
drums, but he actually figured out a way to use the MPC where he could make it sound like that. So it actually, like, the feel of it is actually even kind of different than what an actual drummer would do.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
like it was really kind of interesting.
I was talking to a friend of mine, also a producer by the name of Super Dave West. What he was
Uh-huh. Yep.
telling me is there's a movie, Five on the Black Hand Side, I think was
Uh-huh.
the movie. At the end of the movie, there is, and this may be in the book. I didn't read the book yet, but there's in the movie people are clapping on set to the music that was happening.
Uh-huh.
So when they recorded the movie, they couldn't sync whatever the people were doing with the clapping to the sound. So the claps were kind of sloppy. They were
Yeah.
sync. They had a connection, a grid to them, but it wasn't gridded in with the snare of the song. So what
Uh-huh.
Dave was telling me is I don't know if this was a conversation he had with him or the book or what it was, but he told me that JD heard that and was inspired by how that felt.
Mhm.
That on
Yep.
offness
Yep.
inspired him to. And here's the thing: if we listen to Jay Dilla's beats, they're not all the same like that. Like everything he did isn't the offness. It depended on what the song or what the sample or whatever called for that he did.
Right.
Some joints are just locked straight in. You know, you can hear some of them do feel a certain kind of swing, but absolutely, like people have the misconception that is everything is unquantized. Hank Shockley from Public Enemy, you know, he's a mentor of mine.
Uh-huh.
He taught me what they would do a lot of times with the sounds. None of that stuff was quantized. They would fly it in or feel.
Yeah.
One time they would throw things in, but some of that was due because of the technology. They were limited, so
Yeah,
they
they
didn't
had to
have the
do it at
ability.
one time because there was
Yeah,
no like, click edit, like
that's
undo.
right.
Like,
Yeah, and everybody got their hand on something in the studio. You know, it wasn't like
yeah,
you had program stuff. You know, everything
yeah.
was all programmed. So sometimes by necessity, you come up with stuff. And for me, like when you talk about the stutter, the drum stutter, that became something of me just trying to do something where I was a hybrid of the machine
Hmm.
people, but also using this great piece of tech, to the fullest. That's really where it came from.
And something cool to give the track some variation,
Yeah. That's key. That's key.
Like,
Yeah. Keep people into ear candy. Ear candy is important.